Thanks very much for staying with us. Our time is far gone. My name is Ikarota. It's now time for us to talk aviation this morning. Sorry we eat into the time, but please do bear with us. All the aviation African interest group that have been waiting for this, we sincerely apologize. Quickly, let's take our details on the screen as it is our convention and tradition here on the program. Mr. Gordon N. Ike, aviation freak, someone who metamorphosed from the real estate business and profession, estate value, and now he's deeply. The contacts are there on the screen for you to follow us through, and he's already here in the studio. We quickly want to rush through because time is already fast spent. A very wonderful. How was your political weekend? Everyone was doing me Bayelsa Kogi. I got so many calls within and outside the country. What's going on here? We are seeing on Facebook. We are seeing on this one. I said, leave the Facebook matter out. It was just here and there.
Very disappointing. At this
age,
we shouldn't be experiencing this sort of thing. Elections shouldn't be do or die. I mean, people should be allowed to vote who they want into power. Power belongs to the people, and it shouldn't be allowed that violence, will take over, and then. I mean, it's funny that where we had police, armed police officers, some hoodlums were able to sneak in and cut away, ballot boxes. That's an indictment on the police. And then, we must really strive to develop this nation in a fashion that will be very respectable. What's happened in Bayelsa and Kogi still, demands a lot of explanation by by INEC. It shouldn't be.
Okay, really thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. And quickly, let's check what are we talking about this morning.
Part 3 of the air travels and challenges of disability. Okay. We're going to be concluding today. Okay. It's such a huge topic. If we were to do, graphic, and serializing the entire thing, part 10, it won't finish. It's huge. So I've tried as much as I can to really compress and get the salient information that our viewers need to. So we'll be, concluding today by making a comparison between the laws set up 18 clear years, or 19 clear years before Nigeria, 18 clear years before Nigeria, had its own disability law. The United States of America had it, and I'm trying to make a comparison and to show, what are agreed by the law, of the United States of America to be disability, which unfortunately is not existing in our own laws. The identity of disability here is limited. But in actual sense, there are a whole lot of ailments that can.
Yes,
that's
okay.
right.
Let's see what we're going to clip one quickly.
Let's get to clip one very quickly.
Clip 1, part 3. Good, that's clip 1, part 3. I've got world chair symbol beneath the Aviation International symbol of access.
Yes, symbol. I'm sure abroad you see this symbol very often.
You see in
every nook and cranny.
So you got the male, the female, and you got this one.
That's correct. That's correct. So as soon as we begin to do things right and begin to show concern for the disabled ones in our midst, we'll begin to see some of the signs, both in the car parks and in every nook and cranny of our offices, so that we can give them access. So let's get on and see what it's all about. Clip 1 says International Symbol of Access, known also as International Wheelchair Symbol. The International Symbol of Access, ISA, consists of a blue square overlaid in white with a stylized image of a person in a wheelchair. A committee of Rehabilitation International, RI, the International Commission on Technology and Accessibility, ICTA, maintains the symbol as an international standard under ISO 7001. History has it that ISA was designed by a Danish design student, Susan Kofod, in 1968. The symbol is often placed where access has been improved. Did you hear that? It's placed where access has been improved, particularly for wheelchair users, but also for other disability issues. It generally denotes the removal of environmental barriers, such as steps. The symbol also helps older people, parents with baby carriages, and travelers. That's what the symbol represents. Clip 2 very quickly. Are we there? A public information symbol by International Organization for Standardization, ISO 7001 2007, was published in November 2007. Some uses of ISA include: 1. Marking a parking space reserved for vehicles used by people with disabilities, known also under American laws as blue badge holders. Marking a vehicle used by a person with a disability, often for permission to use a space. Marking a public lavatory, just like you mentioned a moment ago, marking a public lavatory with facilities designed for wheelchair users. I'm yet to see any of these in our public toilets, not even in our airports. Indicating a button to activate an automatic door. These are some of the uses of International Symbol of Access, ISA. Number 5, indicating an accessible transit station or vehicle. Number 6, indicating a transit route that uses accessible vehicles. We're going to see what accessible vehicles mean and what they look like, and the need to start making them and converting vehicles in Nigeria.
So that even if you are disabled from the ground, you're good to run.
That's correct. And you can even drive.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, these things can be modified in a way that disabled ones can drive, and can also sit comfortably as passengers with their wheelchairs. So this is eye-opening. Let's get to clip 3 very quickly. Here we go. Wheelchair accessible vehicles. A wheelchair accessible vehicle is a motor vehicle that has been modified by increasing the interior size of the vehicle and equipping it with a means of wheelchair entry.
Good.
Such as a wheelchair ramp or powered lift. Wheelchair accessible vehicle modifications are usually in 2 categories. The first is where the individual in a wheelchair is the driver. That's one form of modification.
That's fine.
And the second modification is where the individual in a wheelchair is a passenger. So 2 different modifications can be made, either as a passenger or a driver. Here are what conversions entail. A, some portions of the floor is lowered, usually from the rear seats forward to the firewall. B, floors are usually lowered 10 inches to 14 inches on a minivan for side entry accessibility, and a standard 10-inch or rather 10 inches for a rear entry. C, an average wheelchair accessible van must meet the following requirements. 1, a door height opening of 56 inches or greater. 2, a ramp width of at least 30 inches in width with ramp edges 2 inches high. 3, a ramp angle of 6:1 ratio or rise. That is the ramp that they have to, slide up and down of the, but must be a 6:1 ratio. Now, let's get to clip 4 very quickly.
Clip 4, that's clip 4 here.
Features of which accessible vehicles continue. D, rear entry converted vehicles are typically manufactured with a manual ramp and will accommodate 99% of all wheelchairs, scooters, and people. E, sitting is modified to allow wheelchair access. In some cases, the front seats are removable, allowing a wheelchair to be positioned in either the front driver or passenger position or ride amidships. Some, second row seats are removed completely, providing the lowered floor footprint, allowing room for the wheelchair user to turn and sit in a forward-facing direction. F, means of external access usually include a ramp, lift, or rotating seat. G, a power kneeling system is often added to side entry. Conversions to reduce the slope of the ramp. I'll take that again. G, a power kneeling system is often added to the side entry conversions to reduce the slope of the ramp. H, fuel tanks and lines may be modified. Brake lines and mufflers rerouted. Door panels extended and electrical systems modified. Let's go to clip 5 very quickly. Are we there?
That's clip 5.
Lessons from the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. We had ours in 2018. Americans had theirs.
Okay.
Americans had theirs in 1990, 18 clear years before we did. A couple of lessons we need to pick up from what the Americans did. As we bask in the euphoria of the Nigerian Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2018, let's take a look at some sections of the American version of the law promulgated in America 18 clear years before Nigeria's, and possibly learn a few lessons. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, usually known as ADA, is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. Under this law, covered employers are required to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And imposes accessibility requirements on public accommodations. First signed into law on July 26, 1990, by President George H.W. Bush. The law includes the following conditions as disabilities: deafness, blindness, mental retardation, that's intellectual disability, partially or completely missing limbs, mobility impairments requiring the use of a wheelchair, autism, cancer, cerebral palsy, diabetes. So diabetic people are regarded as disabled. Under the American law. So lessons to learn here. Epilepsy. Even HIV carriers are regarded as disabled. That's human immunodeficiency virus, HIV infection. Multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, major depressive disorder. Doctors can explain all this, better to their, to the patients. Obsessive compulsive disorder and schizophrenia.
Can we say schizophrenia?
Sorry?
It's got schizophrenia be
when somebody,
it can be because when you forget who you are,
that's correct.
And you don't remember clearly who you are.
Yes, yeah.
Somewhere it looks, that's more psychological.
No, that's we have 6. The last one.
Schizophrenia is psychological.
Oh yeah, so it is.
So when
is psychological.
When you start to forget who you are a little,
or begin to do funny things, you know, repeatedly. You know,
forgetting who you are.
You know, and people around you are like, what's going on here? Why is this guy going on this way?
Okay.
And you would know that the man is not there. The man is not there. But the law of America recognizes that as disability, and they need help. I think the bottom line in this whole thing is that when somebody needs help, that individual is disabled. That's my conclusion of it all.
You're right. Okay, let's run on here.
Clip 6 very quickly, and the last one, and we'll be done.
Clip 6. Have we got that? Okay, let's clip 6.
Yes, lessons from the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 continue. Depending on what listen to this part. This is very interesting. Depending on what the individual symptoms would be in the absence of mitigating measures. Excuse me. And here, mitigating measures mean in the absence of medication, in the absence of therapy, in the absence of assistive devices, or other means of restoring function. Other mental or physical health conditions may also be regarded as disabilities. Can you see what this American law is saying? If you have an absence of mitigating measures for any form of ailment that anybody has, that person is said to be disabled. And so it shows you how sensitive and concerned the American society is for its own people. And we must be as sensitive, or if not more. Our culture is a sensitive one. Our traditions are sensitive ones. But we must put them in practice for better humanity in Nigeria. Now, furthermore, a covered entity shall not discriminate against a qualified individual with disability. This applies to job application procedures, hiring, advancement and discharge of employees, job training, and other terms, conditions, and privileges of employment. So it is saying it's not tolerated. No disabled one should be discriminated against in any form. Covered entities include employers with 15 or more employees, as well as employment agencies, labor organizations, and joint labor management committees. The law, which has titles 1 up until 5, is huge and all-encompassing. There is a lot to learn from it for the purpose of improving our own laws. So this is telling anyone that is concerned with these laws out there, take a quick look at this law that I have just shown to you today. And flash us some of those photographs to see some vehicles converted, and these things can be done in this country where that is the international symbol of access. Let's see one of those vehicles. Okay, this is a hatchback vehicle, but there's one that is quite interesting. Let's see the next one, and then you see. Can you take a look at that from the side? Yeah. You know, there is a kneeling mechanism that brings down these vehicles so low that somebody can just, and with a ramp. Can you see the ramp hanging out there? Gets down, and somebody sitting on that wheelchair using the joystick. Can you see the joystick on top of the
right?
No, the joystick on top of
like a black on the seat.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That is the joystick. We pull it back, and that thing drives all the way back, straight into the car. The disabled one does not need anybody's help. And these conversions can actually be done in this country, very honestly. I mean, if anybody says it's not possible, I tell you, go to my hometown in Newi and try Innocent Motors. And they haven't paid for this advert, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying that we can do this at a very cheap rate within Nigeria, and with any car, by the way, any car can be converted.
That's good.
And so let's begin to think, and let's begin to work, so that the disabled ones amongst us will feel part and parcel of this nation, feel loved, and in return give patriotism to this great nation of ours. And that's that's the size of my package today. Next week we're going to look at something new.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much for coming, sir. We wish you all the best. Like what Mr. Golden in any case started with, although not aviation related here, he appealed to every one of us to please not to see politics as a game of violence. Let's leave violence out of politics here. That's the appeal he made here, because it is only those who are alive that can fly.
That's correct. Very
so
correct.
Can fly.
And we need a lot of people to begin to fly.
Okay. Let's play here the flying speed. Okay, I'll come back. Maybe next week. Think for next week here. I was to fly into Gombe on Friday. Something happened that delayed me, so I had to go by road. I got there in the night. Everybody who was to fly, their flights were all cancelled because the airport was shut, that they were owing FAN huge amount of money. Maybe you find out, we check that for Monday next week. Because everyone had to, the airline had to drop passengers at Bauchi and at Yola. So the ones in Bauchi will come with about 2 hours journey to Gombe. The ones in Yola had to come with about 3 hours journey.
Let me give you a quick answer. I'll give you a quick answer, a quick one. If it's said that FAN, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, shut down an airport for owing huge source of money, I support that. I support that. If I were one of them, I will stand my ground. Airports, I mean, when state governments, set out to build airports, they must carry out feasibility and viability appraisals and make sure that, the airports will be feasible and will be viable.
Okay, I'll cut you here now. I'll come next week, we'll look at that here. I'll get some findings for us so that we know how this run here. Okay,
sure
Mr. Jide Ojo is already standing by here. Bayasa and Kogi Goba. We saw Dino Melaye yesterday weeping, calling for cancellation. PDP Wada also seeking cancellation here. The APC beating and dancing the drum of excitement and victory and jubilation, while the PDP is saying, hey guys, we meet in court. Let's discuss that after this break.